Miss Sarah here. I have something fun to show you. It's a gift. I love getting gifts. A gift is something a person gives freely. It is not something that you work for or earn. In our lesson today, we will see that God's forgiveness of sin is a gift. We cannot earn it. Jesus did everything needed to save us from sin when he died on the cross and rose again. Paul and Barnabas taught people in the early church that only Jesus makes us right with God. As we watch our story today, let's open our ears and our hearts and remember that only Jesus makes us right with God. So let's watch our story.
Hello everybody, I'm Megan.
And I'm Jessie.
Hey Jessie, are your parents still on their mission trip to Africa?
Yes, I got to talk to them last night on my uncle's computer.
How cool! How are they doing?
They're okay. They miss us and home, but some of the people they shared the good news with decided to follow Jesus.
That's amazing, Jessie! And a perfect way to introduce today's Bible story. Some people started saying that you have to follow rules to be saved, but Jesus is all we need. The church leaders met to talk about it. Listen to the story.
Paul and Barnabas had been teaching people, Jews and non-Jews, about Jesus. Many people believed, and God's church was growing. But some of the people in the church began saying that non-Jews could only be saved if they followed the same rules as the Jews.
Paul and Barnabas knew this was wrong. They had a meeting with other church leaders to talk about what was true. Peter stood up and told the leaders about the Gentiles, the non-Jews who had believed the good news about Jesus. God had given them the Holy Spirit. Peter said that Jews could not obey God's laws perfectly, so why should they tell non-Jews to obey perfectly? Jews and non-Jews are saved in the same way, by God's grace.
Everyone listened as Paul and Barnabas talked about how they had seen God save Jews and Gentiles too. Then James showed how the words of the prophets showed that God wanted to save both Jews and Gentiles. This was God's plan all along.
So the church leaders decided to write a letter to the Gentile believers. The letter told the believers what they should not do now that they were believers. Paul and Barnabas delivered the letter with Judas and Silas, and the believers were encouraged.
The church leaders met to answer a hard question. Can someone be saved by faith alone? Yes. The early church agreed that Jesus is all we need. Anyone who trusts in him will be saved.
This story about Paul and Barnabas comes from God's true word. Acts chapter 15. God gives us his word so we can know about him. When we read these stories in the Bible, it tells us more about who God is. When I heard this story, I saw that God is gracious. What is grace? Well, grace is God's kindness to those who do not deserve it. And nobody deserves God's grace. We saw the good news of Jesus is for everyone. We do not have to follow special rules to earn it. By God's grace, he offers us the free gift of salvation through Christ. Christ alone makes us right with God. Well, I love you guys, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye.